Hello, everybody. Welcome to a segment, episode number 5 of the Vegas Dice Kings. I'm here with Patton Pending on the outside, and of course, and in the middle, the world famous Jimmy Cheese. But don't confuse him with the Green Bay Packer fan, okay? He doesn't wear cheese on his head. Anyways, today's subject, it'd be grim for all you young dealers out there, but that's already passed you by, and we'll let one of these gentlemen start it off.
Geez, start it out, buddy.
Well, this show we want to talk a little bit about back then what the IRS was like in Vegas. In 1981, when I started, we were making, our tips were maybe $23, $28 a day, and nobody ever had a job where they depended on the tips as part of their income. Our pay was $40 a shift. So when you asked about paying taxes, a lot of the dealers said, well, you're a break-in dealer, just claim that you're a student dealer, you're not getting any tips. And so that went on for quite a while, and that's what the fun part about dealing was. You had the cash, or it came in, usually you had an envelope at the end of the day, and you paid taxes on the wages, but not the tips, because we were told it was a gift. And then as time went on in Atlantic City, and where the dealers were complying and they saw the tips they were making, the IRS thought, well, they're hiding something in Vegas. And the IRS started coming after the dealers. Later, in the late 80s, they came into Caesar's Palace with guns. An IRS agent would go in with a sheet of paper that was a levy, and he would hand it to the cage, and the cage would give him the dealer's money. There was no court order, there was nothing. It was just a rogue IRS agent that signed a paper, and they bowed down to him. But Patton has some things for the Tropicana where they came in and seized boxes and things like that.
But before Patton, I think Patton Pending remembers the Wendell Oaks case, which they made it to the Supreme Court, the Wendell Oaks case about toques being a gift. And we didn't push it enough, or maybe give some gifts ourselves to the proper people, and that's where we got shot down, if you recall.
Shot down. A lot of us didn't even know about it. At the Trop, when I was there at the Trop, 82's when I got my first letter from the IRS stating that I owed them $32,000, which I thought was absurd. Of course, everybody was scrambling back then trying to figure out about the IRS, what's going on here. You know, we've never heard of such a thing like that. And it was in 82, almost 83, when they came in and they told us to actually bring the lids up on the game. The games are closed. You know, IRS is seizing all tables and everything. And our boxes, they went to go after our boxes. That's when things started really heating up a little bit with us. It's like, keep your hands off our money. But they had the right to do it, and they were going to do it regardless. But anyhow, it lasted about a half hour or so. Then they decided, I guess the hotels decided that they would more or less just sort of roll over. And they brought the lids back down, and we started the game again. Then the letters kept coming. We had an accountant that used to do all of us there at the Trop at the time. I think it was either Conrad or Conway. I can't remember his name right offhand. He told us not to worry about it, all the letters. He said, just forget about the letters. You know, I'll handle everything from here. And we did. We believed everything he was saying. So he took a collection from all of us. And we all, we were all chipping in pretty good for this guy. Got the collection, gave him the money. And it was about 6 months later, and the letters really started coming heavy then. We started calling him, no answer. He skipped town, which left us just holding the bag more or less. And they came after us. They garnished our wages. For 10 years they got me for. They got my first house. Knock on the door, 2 o'clock in the morning, answer to the door, and a letter come flying in. You had 10 days to be out of your house. They were going to seize it. And now you're scrambling. You're trying to figure out what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So anyhow, we started moving all the furniture out, everything we could to get out of the house. And I went down to them and said, how about letting me sell the house instead of you seizing it? That way you can have the money, what we get out of the sale of the house. They agreed. I sold the house, didn't get much out of it. But I tell you, they were right there, right next to me, waiting for that check. They grabbed it, and I still garnished my wages for 10 years. It was a nightmare. That's where you fall off the face of the earth. And believe me, you can fall off the face of the earth pretty easy if you know exactly what to do.
Did you tell them about when the deal they were going to make if you comply?
Yeah, if you comply, they want you to sign this thing. If you comply with them, they won't go back on you. You know, they'll keep from going back on you. Well, that was a big lie. Most of us all signed it. They went back to 1978 on me. And then they started what they call field audits. They're only supposed to be like 2 field audits a year. And I was getting one every couple of months. I was getting field audited. That's where they come out to your house. That's what that means. Come to wherever you're living, and they want to know about your clothes, the cars, furniture, everything, where you're buying everything, what stores you're going to, what movies, what food, all that, because they write all that down, and then they figure it out. And now you're $26,000 compounded daily, what they call, it goes up to $64,000, and it just never-ending story. Now I got more on this, how frustrating it got for some people. I mean, everybody was just scrambling. People were losing their businesses, their side business, I should say, pizza shops and everything like that they had going. Me, I was just trying to get out of the trap.
They went after the dealers with a vengeance, especially crap dealers, because they knew that unlike the 21 dealers that would go collectively, there was only 4 of us, and they considered us outlaws and bandits. They really wanted the crap dealers. And when they started sending us letters around '83 saying that I owed quite a bit of money and that I had failed to claim the amount, so a lot of the dealers over a period of time after getting over the initial shock, we started going, someone put us in touch with John Freeman, who purportedly had been fighting the IRS and knew ways to go around it. And of course we, like Conway or Conrad, we fell into it. Many of the crap dealers were going to this building across UNLV, and he was reading about our rights and the things we could do. He was having us do these abatements, sending them to the IRS, stop.
Cease and desist.
Yeah, thanks. Cease and desist. I'm Latino, man. Give me a second, man. And so we kept fighting. I went to the IRS several times and spoke to the IRS agents, and they were looking smug. And I said, "Look, I got rights. You can't just accuse me and already got me hung and trialed." And I remember getting escorted by security. That's when the IRS was in the Foley building, the old Foley building downtown. And we were going to these classes, and different groups of us would read from the books that he had. He said, "I don't even have a driver's license. I printed my own." I mean, later on we found he was out there, and years later they took him to the psych ward at UMC, and none of us went to visit him. But it was a nightmare. They went after Las Vegas with a vengeance. Caesar's Palace, they wanted to get us because everyone else would fall into line if they could get Caesar's Palace, which they thought they could. And then, of course, some dealers, we had a big meeting at the Italian American Club, and Big Al Castaldo, the player's pal, said, "Okay, we need to get some money together. We're going to hire Oscar Goodman and a young David Chesnoff at the time to to help fight the IRS." It was a valiant effort, but it was for naught because they were not tax attorneys. And not only that, there was back then the IRS was persona non grata, which we all know, or if you don't know, now you know that were untouchable. You couldn't take them to court. You couldn't sue them. They could do whatever they want. And there was a lot of abuses by the IRS, and they destroyed a lot of lives and a lot of people's businesses. And that's just...
That they did.
Oh.
It got down to where, when I went down to the Foley building, I happened to have $3,000 cash. I had my father with me, and we went in there, and Mrs. Fontaine, who I remember very well, was sitting there, and we took up to $3,000 to give to her and say, now I want to pay down on my bill. And she says, we don't take American currency. And my dad about lost it. He started screaming and yelling. He said, but that's legal tender in the United States. And she said, no, you either need a money order or a cashier's check. And I think I had 15 minutes to get to a bank. I said, I can't make it before Monday. It was on a Friday. And she said, well, that's going to be compounded daily again till Monday. And Dad started screaming and yelling at her, and then they were going to arrest him. It was just, to me, it was abuse all the way around. But I grabbed him. We went out the building. And it was in about 1985 where that one gentleman he'd had enough. Took his truck and ran it right through the building. He tried to take out a few of them.
Yes, he did.
And,
yes, he did.
That's when they ended up putting up all these bars out front. Then you had to make an appointment with them. They would come downstairs, get you, take you back in the elevator, go upstairs to do all your business. It wasn't very fun. It wasn't fun back then.
They were definitely abusive, and to me, there was a lot of rogue people in that, because it wasn't being fair, it was being vindictive. And they said, oh, you sign this to have an amnesty program. Well, just like they did the Indians, they did it to us too.
They sure
and
did.
how?
They did it.
When they came after me, it was, I want to say the later 80s, and I was under levies, which means an IRS agent came in with a sheet of paper to take my money. And this went on for quite a while. In fact, my kids were small at the time, and a buddy of mine, he worked for the convention people, and he hired me. I'd get off work at 8 o'clock at night, and at 10 o'clock I would go and help him build sets till like 3 in the morning to pick up some extra money. And this went on for a couple of years. And so naturally, since I was taking all my money, I wasn't paying any taxes at that time frame. Then after that, we went on the paycheck, and I had a note that I had to go to the time office after work. I went, and there was a bill for $93,000 waiting for me. And I didn't know what to do. There was a group of people in town at the time. They were trying to fight them. I'll get into that in a minute, but there was one gentleman, he had been a judge in Arizona, a retired judge, and he said, we can fight this. And I said, well, I'm all yours, because I'm not that bright, I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, so he helped me with a letter, and we got the taxes done, that what I was supposed to pay, and it was around $24,000. And I'm thinking they'll never go from $93,000 to $24,000. So he said, just go downtown, you file your paperwork. I did. About 2 months later, I get another letter. After looking at your taxes, we've come up with you owe $54,000. I showed this to the guy that was the judge. He says, what does that tell you? I says, they're making these numbers up. They don't really know what to charge you. He says, file your paper again. So I filed my paper again. And another couple months went by, I got another letter. Your bill is now $41,000. He says, file it again, and then you're going to go into bankruptcy court. But you can't have an attorney. This is where I started developing the shakes. He said, you're going to go into bankruptcy court against IRS attorneys, and you can't have an attorney. And he told me what they would tell me. He said, they're going to tell you that you need an attorney, and you stick to your guns. You say, this is what I owe. I did my taxes, and this is what I owe. And don't say anything else. And sure enough, it played out like he told me. I went into court. They kept telling me I should get an attorney, I should get legal help. And I just, like an idiot, I'm like, a savant. I know I did my taxes and this is what I owe. And that's all I said. And after about 20 minutes, the two attorneys went up to the bankruptcy judge, and she says, they agreed on your number. You owe 24,000, make payments, no interest, no penalties. So it was a trying time. I mean, there was times when I was at home with my wife, and I told her, I said, I'm scared. I said, I've never gone up against anything like this before. And, you know, from what it was such a fun job and so easy and so fun. Now all of a sudden it became a big battle. And there was a group in town called the Pilot Connection, Philip Marsh and Irwin Schiff. Irwin Schiff had a store on Sahara, and it had books and books and books about how income tax, how it's voluntary and not mandatory, and they were showing all these different things. And a lot of people started following because all of a sudden they were getting attacked by IRS agents that were just coming after us with, you know, both barrels. So we were backed against a wall, a lot of us, and learned a lot of things. But when all was said and done, I mean, we showed paperwork to attorneys, and they said, "I know you're right, but I'm not going to fight them." So I just had to buckle under and pay.
Well, the problem with the IRS, you're right in one respect. They have no clue what to charge you. Like if you made $50 that day in tokes, they come out with a deal at our hotel and said you owe $150 daily, whether you make it or not. And we're all just sitting there going, "Yeah, out of your mind." You know, you might make 80 and you might make $100 on a daily basis, and you're being charged for 150. That's where the big problem was. And everybody was just scrambling, and you know, you got nowhere to turn. Nobody's can help you. Everybody's left town that you paid to get to help all this. They've all run from you. So I ended up making phone calls. I just started calling people in the book and telling them our problem. I finally got a hold of some gentleman down in California, and he even asked me, "How'd you get a hold of this number?" I said, "I don't know, I just calling numbers out of a book." And I said, "We need help out here." I said, "We're in trouble." I said, "This whole town is in uproar. This is what's happened to me and everything." He says, "Can I get back with you in a month?" Yeah, you know how that goes. So I hung up. And by golly, about a month later, he called me. He said, "You know, everything you've got has been taken care of. They took the levy off my paychecks. It's been almost 10 years. And they took the levies off my paycheck. I started getting, you know, the tokes again. And all of a sudden, about every 2 weeks, I'd get a little a check in there for $6, $25, $36. That went on for a couple of months, and then that ended. And I asked them, "Can I get all paid?" And they said, "We don't do that. They will not send you a letter stating that you're free and clear. They just won't do it." But anyhow, I got off the hook that way. But boy, for 10 years, it was a bad road to go up.
There's no doubt that the whoever was in charge of the Las Vegas, they really stuck it to the dealers, and like Patent Pending said, they come up with figures that out of a hat. I mean, in thin air. You know, we want so much out of you. This is what you owe. Well, how do you know what we owe? Where's the proof? I thought that in this country it was a burden of proof, but these gentlemen here are going to tell you that the abuses got so bad that senators and other people started to get involved.
They were getting involved.
Yes,
because
yes.
it was bad. You know, like I said, you get your back against the wall, you start getting ready to start fighting back. It was bad, and it's funny. As fast as the IRS came in, they went out just as fast because they were catching so much heat from all of town. Because then not only us, they wanted to go after all the cocktail waitresses. Everybody that worked in making tips, they started going after everybody in town. That's when things really started heating up here. It was a mess. But I'm glad they're all out of our hair now.
When I was getting bombarded by this agent, who, by the way, his last name was Smith, at that time, a lot of the agents' last names were Smith. Coincidence maybe, but I called a congressman's office, to see if there's anything that can be done, because it was just insane. And the lady there said, well, we've taken the position, if you mention the Constitution, we can't help you. And I was like, okay, well, thanks for the help. And you realize you're just out there flapping in the wind. You're going to, whatever they say, you're going to have to do, because they could ruin your life.
Well, they did ruin
Yeah,
a
they
lot of
did
people's
ruin a lot
lives.
of people's
They came
lives.
in and destroyed. They instead of approaching us and say, okay, look, from now on, we want you to claim so much. No, they wanted to. They tried us, convicted us, and pretty much burned us real bad. I mean, they did, and it was brutal for years. I mean, I also got garnished and I got levied, and they wanted 60-some thousand for me, and I finally got it knocked down to less than half of that. Finally, but still, a lot of sleepless nights, like these gentlemen know, and constantly wake up thinking about it, trying to go to sleep thinking about it. Meanwhile, you're still a crap dealer, and almost you want to say, I wish I was an airplane mechanic right now, because I'd be flying somewhere else.
Well, I mean, like I said, I lost my first house. Now, a few years down the road, I decide I want to try and buy another house. I can't, because I got a levy on me. Nobody will touch you. And it was like, my goodness. So it was apartment living. And like I said, that's when you fall off the face. You learn real fast. You start doing everything by money orders and stuff. You don't have no banks. I didn't know it belonged to a bank. So everything you did make, you learn how to maneuver around it. They didn't like that, because the field audits, if you've never had a field audit, you don't want one, folks. It's not a very pretty sight.
Is it
when they
worse
come
than a
out.
colonoscopy?
Oh, boy, is it ever. I mean,
Oh,
you
my.
wished you had had a colonoscopy.
Oh,
before.
bring it on.
There was one gentleman that was helping the dealers with, for bankruptcy, and he was going to be your pal, who used to work for the IRS. And so he knew what to do, and his name was Smith also. Well, being Sicilian, I don't trust too many people, and I was at his office, and I said, well, some people are getting around this. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I know a dealer that has players, and they tip him like in the bathroom. He gets off the game, they tip him off the game. And he got infuriated. He was like, they can't do that. He was at a loss for words. Right then I knew he was still playing ball for the IRS. And I didn't trust him. Since then, I never went back to him.
A few dealers were in the bathroom quite a bit, Cheese, and not getting a shoe shine either.
Yeah, it wasn't shoe shine. Little brown jugs, I believe, too.
I think so, but it was a nightmare, and it just kept building up to a crescendo till finally the town put the heat on the IRS and started talking to like Harry Reid and other congressmen and senators, and eventually the IRS backed off. Like Patent Pending says, they came in with a vengeance and they left.
Yeah, I went
left.
down a week later, and the whole office where I was at before was completely empty.
Empty.
There wasn't even no desks or nothing there. I said, where do we go now?
Then
'Cause they
when
didn't
was
say
it on
anything
Oki?
to you.
When did we went on Oki after that?
That's after that guy ran that truck into the
At
the building there.
The new building on Oki. which
Oki
is
and
not-
Decatur.
Right. When you went to make an appointment, you made an appointment to see the agent, and then you had to wait downstairs, and they would send somebody down to see you and then escort you into the office because there were so many threats.
And they were all carrying guns, huh?
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. I found out through a gentleman, I don't know how he found out, but they labeled us as tax dodgers and tax protesters, as well as there was other couple names. And I'm sure they had our pictures with bullseyes around them. And all of us that made a lot of noise, we remember working with a gentleman, Steve Labid, who he went off the deep end. I mean, he would go down, you cannot do this. I'm an American. I was in the service. This is un-American. Well, he ended up losing his house, his mind, and of course he passed away some years ago, but he lost everything trying to fight the IRS.
Real quick, I know John put the email address on the screen. If you have any stories, or if you've been in the business, whether you were a cocktail waitress back then or a female, male dealer, it doesn't matter. If you were in the town in the 60s and 70s and have stories you want to share, we'd love to talk to you. You could email us and mention if you want to talk to Patton, send him a note, or me or Danny, and we'll meet with you. And if you want to come on, I could do it. We did a Zoom last time. We could set somewhere and Zoom it in so you don't have to come to the studio. But there's, like I said, there's so many stories and things that happened in this town, and I know there's a lot of older dealers and waitresses out there that have things they would like to share, but don't be shy. So
Older than us.
That's
older than us.
The email is vegasdicekings22@gmail.com. vegasdicekings22@gmail.com. Yeah, please write into us. We'd
Yes.
love to hear from you, and
Yes.
let's get the show on the road. Let's get this
Yes,
out in
yes.
here, out in the open a little bit with everybody.
Well, that certainly in our conversations there was a very dark period to
Yes.
be not only a dealer but a crap dealer,
Well, it's
because it was a nightmare.
just something that sticks in your craw when you've had it done to you. You know what I mean? It just,
I think I was going to go to work for Manny, Mo, and Jack.
yeah, Manny
Changing
Mo and
tires,
Jack.
eh?
Yeah, but I lost my pep.
Yeah, it definitely opened your eyes for wanting to change jobs. That's for sure.
No, the new dealers have no idea
No.
what we went through. Oh my God! If any of these dealers today had to go through the atrocities, really atrocities that we went through, they would be doing something else in a hurry.
Yeah, when they drag you over the coals, you'll learn in a hurry. That's
Oh,
for sure.
burned at the stake.
Burned.
So let's go on a lighter note
Yes.
about bringing people to the game.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
said you want to, if somebody's walking in, how would you attract a player?
I go like this. Oh my God, I can't see him. No.
Actually, there's a lot
There's-
to do that.
Yes, there's you could go. There was a 5 and 10 rule that I think a lot of hotels might have told their dealers to. Within 10 feet, you were to make eye contact, and when you did that, if they were within 5 feet, which I usually would leave my ruler at home, but I just would judge it.
You should take the
Within
book.
5 feet, you would be vocal. Hey, hi, how are you? Come on closer. Because a lot of people, especially in dice, are intimidated because the game used to be pretty fast. Now it's slowed to a crawl, but that's just how it is. And when they would come up, naturally there'd be other players, and some hardcore players get irritated with people that come up to want to learn the game. But you try to balance a balancing act, and these fellas can attest to that.
Absolutely, you can. I mean, the whole thing is there's a lot of players out there that's got no clue, or people in general has no clue how to even approach a crap game. They'll walk by and they're you can see them shy away from the game. But if you call them in, hey, come on in. Hey, can we help you? Is there something you need? Or well, we don't understand the game. Well, come on in. Come up here. We'll explain the game. Like I said, at the other end, there might be a few players who get a little irritated with that. That's just part of life, I mean, you want to attract the players into the game, get as many as you can in. You're there for 8 hours. You might as well make a big happy deal out of it. Talk to them.
Me and Danny used to work with a guy named Adam. He was an older guy. If he saw a pretty girl coming by, his move, he would go, and if the guy was looking, like if she was with a guy or husband, he would look at his watch. And if it was a girl, that he just kept waving until she came to the game. And that was because Adam and Danny both, they like to attract female players for some reason. I don't know what the problem is. But
Hey, equal opportunity players. Yes.
Yes.
but anyway,
A champion for women players. That's what I was. But he was so smooth, all in one motion. And usually they were with a man, a husband, whatever. And he had that move. And then if the man looked, almost time for my break. If not, like he said, come on in. And he would explain the game to the young lady
In detail.
in detail.
Along with the phone number.
Yeah,
and
yeah, he
whatever else.
he was good at it.
He
passed
was.
away not too long ago.
Yeah, he did. But he was, he dealt back in the late 50s at the Sahara.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
wow.
worked at the Sahara in the late 50s. I mean, he had been around a long time. But he certainly had an affection for the female wannabe player, And I remember this one gal, just a short story of Adam, where he was speechless just one time. And she was a cowgirl. And he was teaching her the game, and they started kibitzing back and forth, a little, not in a dirty way, just risque. And she looked at it. She had a belt buckle, so maybe a barrel racer or whatever. And he said, hey, I can go around them barrels. And she told him, I'll ride you like a stolen horse. I'll never forget it. And Adam went, he leaned back. It's like he got scared for a second. I go, Adam, what happened there? He goes, I was ill-prepared for her riding
Yeah, I didn't expect that one.
sequence.
He'd turn around and look at everybody like, whoa, where'd that come
I
from?
went on a break looking for a riding crop, but there was none to be found.
Oh,
Yeah.
real quick story, and then I'll shut up.
Don't do that.
In past
No.
shows, I had mentioned being in a bar in 1976. Well, if you do the math, I was 19 years old. Well, that's the way Vegas was back then. They didn't card it too many people. I shot dice the first time when I was 17. I was there with my parents. My dad liked to shoot dice. And if they carded you, you would say, we always went downtown. Say, well, my ID's in my room. And you go across the street, you go to another casino. And that's just the way it was. And they really didn't put an issue on your age. So when I was about 18, I thought, well, I'm going to avoid all this because we were from San Diego. So I was in San Diego. I went to a costume shop and I bought a fake mustache. And I had it on with the spirit gum, got it all set. And now we went to a restaurant one night at the Fremont Hotel downtown. It was an Italian restaurant. I had the mustache on. I'm sitting there with my parents, and I think it was sausage and peppers, and took the order and everything, and I'm eating, not thinking about the steam coming off of the sausage and peppers onto the mustache. So as I'm eating, the mustache is starting to go straight, and I pushed it back, and it's going up again. So finally I got tired of it. I took it off, and I put it underneath the napkin. The waitress comes over, she says, would you like anything for dessert? And she looked right at me. She said, you want dessert? And she just kept staring at me like something's different with this guy. Like,
Didn't
well,
you
he
have
shaved
that
right after dinner.
Wasn't that hump?
What hump?
Yeah, what hump?
That's a good story, Jimmy Cheese. But, especially when we went table for table, especially at Caesar's Palace, I mean, it could be cutthroat because you'd see these players and every crew was trying to get them in, even if they belonged to some of the dealers that they if the dealer was out sick or some, oh, hey, Mr. B, well, where's Jerry or where's Al? Well, they're not here right now. They're on vacation. One's in the hospital. He won't be out for 3 months. Come on over here, Mr. B. We'll take care of you. And dealers, there would be beefs amongst dealers. Hey, you stole my player. It was almost comical in some regards.
To put things into perspective for young dealers that everybody makes the same amount of money, you could be on one table and you might make $200 and the table next to you made $3,000. So you never knew when you went to work what was going to happen or how cold or how hot the dice would be.
Excuse me, not COVID.
Yeah, I remember there was a guy, Don, I won't say the last name, but he had some players, and he was working in Pit 6, which was where the sports book was at Caesar's Palace.
The Olympic side.
Right. So he would come into the main pit before work, like 10 minutes before the shift, and see if any of his players were in the main pit. And not to make anybody upset, he would say, listen, go ahead and play here, but if the dice are cold or you wanted to give me a try, I'm out back. So he would go looking for his players before he started work if he was not in the main pit.
He's
What?
now a scout for a national football team. Scout.
Marker?
No,
No.
no. I'm just saying
No,
because
he's
you said
scout.
he's
He's
scouted.
scouted
Yes,
for
yeah,
players, yeah.
yeah. Well,
Not
you
those
know, he
players.
could have taken it to a new level, but you know, you learned right away. You know, because they go 24 hours, it does make a lot of dealers not motivated, mundane. But don't forget, if everyone tries to contribute, if every crap table the dealers are bringing them in, your tip income is going to go up. You got to be there 8 hours. Why do you don't want to be disgruntled. You don't want to be in a bad mood. Leave your moods at home. You're there to make money. Just like the hotel. They don't care if you're sick or not. They'll put someone in so that business continues.
Absolutely. You know, and going for like table for table, like we was talking about, it wasn't all gravy back then. I'll give you an example. New Year's night, they gave us a reserve game for a Mr. S. This guy's biggest George in town. And everybody, we're sitting there going, all right, we got the main game. New Year's night. We stood there for 8 hours. He never showed. We went home with the blank. Didn't make a dime. New Year's night. And I would just, how's that happen?
And that in those 8 hours, you had illusions of grandeur.
Oh, you're
we're
looking
going to
at all
make
the other
about
tables.
2,000-3,000
Yeah.
a piece. I'm going to stop and get some lobster to go.
Yeah.
Because that's what I used to do at the Starboard Tech. I used to go in, I'd call her, they knew me. I naturally went into my dealer shirt with the chain hanging down, just like in today's world, the chain. And people would be looking like, your lobster to go is ready. What else you want? Nah, give me some extra rolls.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you give her $50. The other person, a cook, you're going back, you're giving away money. That's the one thing about making fresh money every day, is that we put it back in the economy.
Yeah, we did. Kept everything going back then.
Now,
Absolutely.
what you got to tell the bartender? Wait 2 weeks and I'll tip you. As soon as I get my check, I'll be here. Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot different back then. That's for sure.
One time we were on a crew, and if things were slow, you wanted to get out. If there's no players, I mean, if you worked 4 or 5 hours and it's slow, they would have the chance to bring up a lid on a game and send you home. So we were on a table one time, and I think we had $500 in the box, which was $125 a piece. But they were looking to open another game, and the dealer on my game told the pit boss, "We'll go home now." The pit boss says, "No, I'm gonna open the table." And he grabbed the pit boss and he pulled him in, and he whispered in his ear. And the pit boss says, "Oh, okay, don't open the game. You guys go ahead and get out of here." What he told him is that 500 was going to be split 5 ways. So we each got 100, and the pit boss got 100. We got to go home early.
That's how you get out. Of course, we had a lot of pit bosses back then just come in and say, "You guys want to go home? Yeah, bring the lid up. This is the last shooter." And they would just say whether you had a full table or not. The last shooter, bring the lid up and everybody go home. So,
What's funny is they don't say last shooter anymore.
No, you
They're
can't.
reluctant to even chase anybody away. And if you have a swing crew and they're getting edgy, if they're like 10 to 6 and it's already 5:30, and they're instead of just saying, folks, you're going to have to go to the other game, these dealers are ready to go home.
The last
They're
shooter.
reluctant to say anything. No one wants to say anything. But you really got to look. If you're a dealer, if you've chosen this profession, make the best of it. You don't have to have outstanding personalities like the other two gentlemen have. Some of the best dealers in the world. These guys, they could bring a blind person and he could see the game from there. Believe me, they were excellent. Both these gentlemen are excellent. And make the
thank
best of it. Try to do your best. Because after 8 hours, if you're putting money in the box and the people are satisfied that they had a good time, you've accomplished something. You might not think as much, but you have. People that come here on vacation for whatever reasons, maybe they have a lot of problems and they're getting away. Make it special for them. Just like when you go to dinner or you go out of town, you want it to be special. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And just keep calling the players in. That's, the hotels are there giving you a job to make money. So it don't hurt to help the hotels out a little bit by getting somebody in there.
Look at
Call
Jimmy
them in.
Cheese. He's friends with astronauts, heart surgeons, psychiatrists, brain surgeons even. And they discuss how brain surgery and craps is almost synonymous. Because you can lose your mind either way.
Yeah, either way. Yeah, you can go crazy in a hurry.
Yeah, I remember a few astronauts that came, astronauts, not
See 'em on a daily
astronauts.
basis.
A few astronauts. They were out of this world,
Yeah,
believe
that's
me.
where you see them on a
Yeah,
daily basis.
especially when the guy said, "What planet's next to Pluto?" Well, I go, Uranus, bro.
Uranus.
Uranus.
Just keep the, like they said, keep the cards and letters coming. I mean, that's what we're all out there for.
you're
Make a
a-
living.
You're a dealer-tainer. When I work with the cheese, I mean, these people love the cheese. And
Yes.
the women love the cheese.
They still do.
Al Pacino and De Niro all rolled up into one.
Yes.
I want to tell one quick story about Danny. When I was working with him at Caesars, this old guy, he lived in Vegas. He was a local, and he would come and play, small amount, and he kept telling Danny, "You're so funny, Danny. You're so funny. Why are you so funny? Why are you so funny?" The guy was like 80 years old. Danny looked at him without missing a beat. He says, "It's because I purchase only the finest suppositories money can buy."
That's why I look so young in the cheeks. That's a good one, Cheese. I use a different one now. I had someone tell me, "You're so funny." I go, "Yeah, but my wife says I'm funnier lying down."
Anyhow, I just want to like to thank everybody for watching the show. It's been a lot of fun today. I mean, we seem to get a lot out today, and I hope everybody sort of taken note and listen. And I'm sure, and please call in to us, call in and let us know some stories. We'd love to talk about them. Absolutely, isn't that right?
That's it. And we both work graveyard, so we're available after 12 o'clock every day.
You can see the red in our eyes. We actually close our eyes. You just come here by memory.
I usually sleep at work on the crap table.
John, our hats off to you, my friend.
John, the producer and owner of this studio, who is outstanding.
Yes.
Netflix, HBO,
Yes.
Roku. You out
Roku.
there? John Stiles with an S.
Hooah!
Hooah! That's right. Our veterans. Don't forget our veterans. I got
Absolutely.
2 of them here. Cheese was in the Italian army. He was in charge of meatballs and sauce.